everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas, and to all of you who were not celebrating, I hope you still had a wonderful time. As this is a new year, I want to start this year with this video, and this video is a story time video where I'm gonna tell a story about a real incident that happened in my life. So you see, there was a time I used to be a department manager for a financial distribution company where we used to sell lucrative, exclusive properties in south of France. My office used to be in the most prestigious place in Oslo, Norway. As I mentioned, I was the department manager for this company, and under me I had 4 other employees that I was the leader for. We were on the top floor in this prestigious place, and we used to share office with another company who were into shares and assets and into securities. When I say securities, I'm not talking about security like a bodyguard security or bouncer. I'm talking about financial securities like financial assets. With this other company we were sharing the floor with, we had a very good relationship to them. They were really hardworking and they had done this for many years. It was seniors in that company. So it was very nice to learn new things from them, as my company and my department and I myself were so young. So we had so much to learn from them, and we therefore had such a nice relationship and so much respect towards each other. I remember particularly one employee I used to have. Actually, in that time, I only had my bachelor's degree completed. And I was leader for one specifically who had master's degree from a really high prestigious university in London. And he was so good at what he used to do and in finance, so I can easily say that he was kind of like my right hand when it comes to work. So my whole team used to do a good job, and I used to do good sales when it comes to properties, and it was a lot of fun. It was hard work, but it was also a lot of fun in that job. And when we used to have kickoff and stuff like that, the manager used to fly us to south of France, where we had everything inclusive. It was 5-star hotels, and dining and business and leisure, everything was included. We used to sell properties in south of France. In Norway is very common to say the French Riviera, where you have Nice, you have Antibes, you have Cannes, you have Saint-Tropez, and other places also, like Sète and Cap d'Agde and etc. So during this trip, we also used to go and see the new property developments which were developing, and of course we were supposed to sell those properties that were in construction and developing. Now I'm gonna try to make this long story short. The reason that I am telling this story is because all of a sudden everything was going smooth in my company, my department. It was my department. The company was really big. They had offices around Norway, but I was in Oslo and I had the responsibility for the department in Oslo. So it all of a sudden came a crack in the property market in Europe. And of course, my job was having people with big bank balance to invest in these properties in south of France and other investments also, but mainly the properties in south of France. So when the financial crisis came, it became really difficult for our departments around Norway to sell these properties. This problem was affecting my department a lot, but they who we were sharing this top floor with seemed to not be affected by this crisis, this crack that came in the financial market. And that was really special. So honestly, what happened was that it started to go downhill with my department, with our company. And also it happened something tragically in my employee that I mentioned before, who was really into finance and was great to have in my team. So yes, it came to a very difficult point where this was going downhill. Honestly, I loved this job so much, and it was really heartbreaking to experience this, which was what was happening because of external reasons. This was not internal. Yes, a little bit, because my employee were affected by what was going on in their life. So yes, mainly because of the financial crisis that happened in Europe. So one day I remember really well. I was so heartbroken. I didn't understand what was gonna happen to my office, my department. And I remember this manager who I had such a good relationship to when it comes to work and to learn, because he was a senior. He had done this all his life. And I remember he said, "Sarah, come over and join us for celebration." And I was just like, he knew what were going on with my department, what happened to our company with this property that we used to sell in south of France, that it was not so much demand for that anymore because of the situation in the financial market. But he had some celebrations to do, and he invited me over because we always used to do lunch together. So I remember that I said, okay, if you have something to celebrate, I can join you, because if you are happy, that's great. So then I joined them to the table where we used to sit and eat all together. There were a cake. It was a cake with a lot of berries on it. And he said, "Here, have a piece of this cake. It's now you can taste how success tastes like." Because also the name of the cake was success cake or success tart, which is actually what the name is, success tart. In Norwegian is success tarte. So he said, "Now taste how success tastes like." He was like so in the moment. He was caught in the moment that it was like he owned the world in that moment. This is how he were behaving. I remember he also told what the big success was, and somebody brought in many millions into his company. And of course he were over the moon happy and felt so much success in that moment, because that meant everything for the survival of that company. So I understand why he were extremely happy, and it was a big moment for him and rest of his team. And I was somehow happy for him, but at the same moment, like I mentioned earlier, I was heartbroken because of what were going on with my own office, my own department, and because of we were hardly affected by this, because our main goal was to sell exclusive properties in south of France. I remember a weekend passed by and I came back to office the week after, and it was a completely different energy there. Before the weekend, it was so much celebration and so much happiness in that company we were sharing this office floor with. And all of a sudden it was so silent, and then I got the news that they could not continue to have those office anymore. And that came as a shock to me. I was just like, oh my god, it was so much success just right before the weekend. What just happened? Because you were like, you had the big customer in. So what happened? And then I got the news that this customer pulled back the investment that was so important for them, that they no longer had assets, financial assets or finance to continue to have this office in this prestigious building in the prestigious area in Oslo. And of course that affected me as well, because it was, like I mentioned sometimes now, that it was so prestigious that it was impossible for me also to continue there. If they were not there, I couldn't continue either, because it would be extremely costly and expensive for my company, who were already suffering because of the financial crisis, that it was impossible to continue there. So we both companies eventually had to resign the agreement to be there in that location. So what happened was that I moved my office, me, myself, and me alone, with no other from my team, to another part of the company which the main boss had, where they didn't sell any property, but it was completely selling shares. It was like share-based, shares, assets, and stuff like that. So I had a big office there, but it were never the same. I couldn't sell more properties in south of France. I was helping people with finance, to have more finance to buy other properties in Norway, but not completely selling these lucrative properties in south of France. So, as I told and mentioned before, my company were going downhill. And about the other company, like I mentioned many times in this video before, they could not continue the company anymore. They had to put the whole company down or shut it down. This was obviously a setback for me in my life, because that was my dream job. I loved that job so much. Even I didn't have more than bachelor's degree at that moment. But what happened was that I fell down. It was a setback, but before I fell down, I stood up again, because I started my master's degree then. I eventually resigned from that company and started to do furthermore education and to do masters in science. I remember I had to do some final paperwork with this company I was working for, and I was the department manager. So I went to the other office that I had moved to, and who do I see there? Yes, there was the other manager who used to be next to us in the prestigious place where we used to sell properties, and he used to do his assets finance and all these investments, and he was the manager there, and he was now the manager for that same company I was manager for, but he had no other to be leader for. It was only him. But the moral of the story is that when he were celebrating and the way he said, Sarah tastes success, and he knew I were heartbroken. How come that just changed completely overnight his situation? He were over the moon, and all of a sudden he were in my position, but in a completely different environment. Like, the environment I were in was luxurious, but he were in like basic environments. So it was a really strange meeting when I saw him for that final paperwork, and he was kind of like not embarrassed, but it was something like it was not easy for him either, because I moved on to do higher education, but now he had his setback where he were doing a job I didn't want to do anymore. The moral of this story, the moral of this video is that don't be arrogant, always be humble, no matter what you achieve in life, no matter what happens, always be humble and don't be arrogant, ever. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against this man who took over my position when I started to do my master's, but it was just the moment he was caught in the moment of success and arrogance, while he were not thinking about, he didn't have that humble heart in that moment to think, what is she going through? And look how the situation just turned around completely, where I moved on and he had to take my position that I no longer wanted. It's quite, yeah, it's amazing how time changes everything. And in this situation, it happened like quite fast. My master's, my education were going perfectly fine. But little did I know that when I was completing my master's, I was gonna give the biggest exam of my life. This happened actually right before when I was gonna start my master's thesis. And what this incident that happened to me, this big incident, I don't even have words for this. What this taught me is that what life teaches you, there is no degree in this world which can teach you the same. So what I'm saying, that I completed my Master of Science, but actually I don't think it was for so much use, because what really changed me and taught me so incredibly much was what happened to me with that incident. And I think even 10 PhDs cannot make you as strong as that and get you to that spiritual mastery level which I went on to. And in that spiritual mastery process, I met the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan. Prime Minister Imran Khan is also on an extreme high level of spiritual mastery. So yeah, he is really a great prime minister for Pakistan. To know what happened during this meeting with Prime Minister Imran Khan and how this meeting happened and what happened after this meeting, my viewers has to be escalated, my subscribers has to be escalated, and the likes also has to be escalated. So then I will consider that I will make a video about that in the future, because like I said before, the more viewers, subscribers and likes I get, the deeper and deeper the topics will get. I hope you like this video, and the moral of this story: always be humble, because someone once said to a companion that engrave something in my ring that keeps me humble when I'm doing great in life and everything is perfect, and something that keeps me hopeful when things are really bad in life. So this companion came back with this engraved ring, and inside the ring it was written, "This time shall also pass." So remember, time changes everything. I hope you like this video. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, and do also share, because this story is an inspiring story that never be arrogant, always be humble, and if you have a setback in life, you come back stronger. And some incidents in life changes you completely. I wish you a happy new year. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.